I've been trying to think about how exactly I can say this so that way it doesn't get pulled. This is a fictional-ish thing, okay? This is a piece of writing, and any correlation that it might have to things that are happening right now is just happenstance. All right. We need to have a get real chat. We need to have a get real chat. See, I have a deep understanding of how energy works, and I'm a sovereign being. I am an active participant and a co-creator in my reality, and you are too, whether or not you realize that you are. Okay? And there has been a message on my heart that has really been needing to come through. I see people going about life as if it's business as usual. And it feels very interesting to me because it feels anything but business as usual over here in my energetic awareness. It feels a lot more like it's the end of the world as we know it. Granted, I feel fine. Some of y'all will get the song reference. But I think we need to have a get real chat here. You know, I think it's very easy to fall on two sides of the same sword. Like you're either all rainbows and unicorns and glitter and positive thinking and love and light. I think that there's a time and a place for that. But on the other side of the sword, on the other end of the spectrum, it's real easy to fall into utter gloom and doom as well. And I think that we are being called to be right-sized at this time and space, and to actually realize that it is not either or, and it is yes and both. Okay? How many of you have ever gone through a major transition period in your life? Like major transition. So maybe like, I don't know, maybe when you moved out of the house, maybe when you got a first job, maybe when you started college, or you went to go travel for a while, or a new relationship, or whatever. A big transition. Like one that alters your identity to the core. One that shifts your understanding of who you are. Rocks your whole world. Okay, I think most people have gone through that. We are, more than one major transition. Okay. Yeah, we are undergoing right now, here on Earth, a major transition. Major transition. Now here's the deal with major transitions. You don't get to have the new without the old falling apart first. It's an impossibility. That would be like, I don't know, trying to build a house on top of a house that already exists. Now I'm going to go a little bit further. It would be, if we were just trying to usher in the new and usher in the transition without having the old fall away, it would be like trying to build a house on top of a sandcastle. It wouldn't work. Okay? So we're at a really, really interesting time in human history right now where you could literally be standing next to someone and the two of you could be having completely different experiences of reality. In fact, if you were to talk to both people standing next to each other, you might hear someone say that this is the greatest time to be alive, and you might hear the other person say that it's the most terrifying time to be alive. And then you might have a third person who is making a choice to just not be alive. Okay? We are in a major transition on this planet. And what we are seeing, I guess I kind of have to back up. What you may or may not be seeing, what you may or may not be aware of right now is that we are in such a transition that the old guard, the old system, the old way of doing things is collapsing, it's falling apart. Now, the tendency is, what I see a lot of people want to do when stuff starts to fall apart, it's like really what's happening is it's falling apart so it can fall back together the way that it was meant to be all along, like fall together better. But what most people want to do when they see that their life is starting to like shatter and crumble, most people want to like run and scoop up all of the pieces and bust out the duct tape and try to like duct tape it back together and fix it. I've been talking to a lot of people recently and they're like, well, Brooke, I see that there are so many glaring problems. There are so many glaring situations, so many things that I think need our attention. How do we fix it? What if fixing it's not the answer? What if there's nothing to fix? What if what is happening right now is we're beginning to see the crumbling of a system that, first off, like, it doesn't need to be fixed. It wasn't broken. It has actually been operating the way that they designed it. So there's no fixing it. If you were to try to fix it, you're just going to prolong the pain of the current transition period. Versus if you actually just let the guard shift, if you let the old system crumble and get to a flat space where there's actually room and you're not trying to build something new on top of a whole heap of debris, then you can actually have a solid foundation and a lasting structure that's built on truth. Does that make sense? So we are at a really weird time in human history right now where I think that people need to discover how to be right-sized. We're not trying to fix that which is falling apart. It's falling apart for a reason. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked for forever. If it worked, like if the old system and the old way of doing things, if the old school system, the medical system, the food system, the money system, if it worked, then why are so many people fat, sick, nearly dead, broke as a joke, too much month left at the end of their money, depressed, suicidal? If it actually worked, don't you think there would be some evidence of thriving? So what's happening right now is actually a beautiful thing. But it doesn't just become beautiful overnight. I don't know. Maybe you guys can attest this. Maybe y'all have some like super easy transition periods in your life. I never have. They're always messy as shit. It's always messy for me. It's never like I like go to bed one night and then I wake up and suddenly it's like butterflies and everything is joyous. No, like usually if I'm going to end one chapter and step into something new in my life, it's like there's got to be some big bomb. There's a big mess. There's a whole bunch of like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was there. Holy cow, I got to look at that. You know, I think there are a lot of people right now that are assuming either that this is going to be the hardest period ever that we've ever encountered ever. Oh my God, be very afraid. Or that it's just going to poof, and magically everything's going to be fine overnight. And I'm here to tell you that the answer is yes and both. I mean, that's the great paradox of creation. It's not either or, it's yes and both. And, you know, I think that it is naive to think that you're not going to be affected by the fact that the old system is crumbling. I think it is naive to assume that you're going to be forever protected if you're not actually taking action to protect yourself. And I'm not I'm not talking about following the propaganda for protection. What I'm talking about is like, if you're not actually emotionally and spiritually preparing yourself for the shift that's happening right now, you're really going to be caught off guard with what's coming next. And I think we need to have a quick chat about that, about praying and intending for the best. Like, we can see people, if you can hold within your mind's eye, if you can visualize people being free, people having choice, people being in their power, people being well, people being abundant, people being connected and cared for. If you can visualize and embody joy, thank you, because you're helping to anchor in that reality as being so. But can you, at the same time, also be fully aware of what's actually happening right now, and to be willing to prepare yourself for the worst? Because look, man, big transitions are not easy. They're messy. They're emotional. There's a lot. And not everybody comes with you through the transition. Have you noticed that? Like, if we're just even talking getting a new job. If you leave the job that you're at and you go get a new job, you leave behind a lot of people at the old job, do you not? If you move states, which might be a great, beautiful, wonderful transition for you, there are then people, right, and situations that you leave behind. Well, humanity right now is going through a transition, and not everybody is going to make the transition. And I think we need to have a talk about that. Okay? There are things that are going to happen as the old system continues to fail and continues to fall, and it has to fall. Again, you cannot have the new built on top of the rubble of the old. You can't have a financial system that has literally stolen from, raped, and pillaged from the people for hundreds of years. You can't try to build a new financial system on top of that, when the corruption has literally eroded the entire infrastructure of everything that our reality has been based on. If you were to try to build on top of that, it is all going to collapse. Okay. It's a beautiful thing. It's a lovely thing. Why? Well, because there's like a whole new world that's going to open up. However, in order to get there, we're going to have to go through the tunnel. In order to get there, it's not going to just be smooth seas and easy driving. Okay? Smooth roads, though, never made skilled drivers. You know, I've said this for a while. I really feel like... Hi, everybody. I really feel like my life experience, maybe you guys can relate to this. I've been through some shit in my life. Anybody else, like, been through some shit? I've been through some shit in my life. And now I see it as a training ground. Now I see it as an opportunity for me to fortify myself. I had the privilege of going through some really heinous experiences that tested and fortified and strengthened me, that showed me the truth of my heart and the truth of my being. Have you been so lucky in your life? See, I've been through some things that now that we're going through this as a collective, God, I feel like I've been prepared. You know, one thing I know about myself is I am strong as shit. I can burn something that's not working to the ground, and I can pop into a new reality like that, because I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of the destruction that inevitably comes in a time of transition. Now, that being said, the time of transition can be kind of excruciating, can it not? Do you really think that we would somehow be exempt from feeling the birthing pains of birthing a whole new reality? Okay, I'm going to be a little bit less cathartic now, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I feel like we're needing to prepare for. I'm going to talk about this in regards to the Land of Oz, this fictional place I've been writing about. In the Land of Oz, the people have been poisoned for a very long time. In the Land of Oz, there have been some greedy overlords that have been stifling the success of the people in order to prey on them, to feed off of them. And I think it can be really hard for like the average good-hearted person to even wrap their mind around just how dark and just how terrifying the overlords of Oz really are. You know, I'm a good person with a good heart. I probably love people too much. Perhaps you can relate to that. I don't know if that is a possibility, if you could love someone too much, but I can't fathom intentionally wanting to hold someone down. I can't fathom intentionally wanting to hurt someone. Now, that being said, like, have I hurt people? Yeah, I'm human. I've fucked up. Okay, but I cannot wrap my head around the gnarly, insidious, terrifying characters that are the overlords of Oz. I can't wrap my head around that. See, the overlords of Oz are not really human. They have sold their souls in order to find success and fame and power, and they have done heinous things to pull power and have control over the people of Oz. They created new industries and brought the people of Oz to work in the factories so that they could profit off of them. See, the problem is, though, when the people would go to work in the factories of Oz, they had about a 3-year life expectancy once they entered the door of the factory. They were working in dangerous situations with harsh chemicals. And the overlords of Oz, of course, only saw this as an opportunity. If people were falling ill, well, then they could sell their snake oil as a cure. Now, what the overlords didn't tell the people is that the snake oil that they were selling was just more poison in a fancy bottle with a clever marketing campaign attached. But yet, the people believed the overlords because the overlords spoke with such clarity and charisma. They had such smiles on their faces. Of course they meant good, right? Now, that was just the beginning of the system. You know, if you really want to build a full system, if you really want to have a system of control, the control must actually infiltrate and take over every single facet of the people's lives. Otherwise, if you don't have a comprehensive system of control, people will find the hole, they'll find a way to weasel out of it. So the system has to be systemic. The system is systemic. And the system ended up, the overlords of Oz created a system that is pervasive and touches everything. So they began to manipulate the education system. They altered the textbooks. They altered science. They withheld information from the people of Oz that they then kept for themselves And they used that information that they kept from the people to put themselves in greater positions of power. They attached all kinds of accolades and certificates for going to get educated in this new system of lies that they had constructed. Then they found a way to attach a hefty price tag in order to go get that schooling and that faulty education. And they made that something for people to strive after. See, they built the whole schooling system as a babysitting service that would indoctrinate children to be participants in their overarching system. They began to play with the minds of the most creative and open-hearted creatures on the planet, our children. They put them into public schools, government-funded schools, government schools, that would be a better term, where they learned how to sit in neat little rows and control their body, not listen to when they need to eat or pee or sleep or run or yell. They pulled them out of their knowing. They taught them how to be good little cogs in a machine, filled their bodies with all kinds of chemicals and sweeteners and colorings they claimed were food. They pulled people so far from the food system and the food chain that they forgot where food really came from. And the overlords of Oz, as a result, made the people completely dependent on the system of Oz. See, Oz said, well, you need to pay for your energy, and you need to pay for your food, and you need to pay for your water, and you need to pay for your shelter. And here's how you can pay for it. You can come and work for us, and we'll give you a salary, or hourly, or whatever. Oh, you can't afford what we're offering. Well, you better work harder for us, or get another job. And then, by the way, when that check comes in, go ahead and purchase all these things that we say that you need through our clever and colorful marketing. Meanwhile, all of the energy from the people funnels its way back up to the top of Oz, back up to the overlords, and all of the money funnels its way from the people back up to the top to the people, overlords of Oz. And the overlords of Oz put ever more restrictions on the people. And the people go along with it because the overlords of Oz say, well, it's in your best interest, and I care about you, and you're nothing without me. But the people are waking up. Now, unfortunately, people don't just, wake up for no reason. Usually it takes a pretty significant amount of discomfort and pain for people to finally get good and done dealing with whatever it is that they've been dealing with. You guys ever had, I was totally this girl, throwing myself under the bus. You guys ever have a friend that was just keeps going back to the same douche nozzle over and over, and you're like, God, girl, you're so worth so much more. What are you doing? I'm just not over him yet. You're just not done until you're done. Yeah, that was me a lot. That's a lot of people right now in this system of Oz. They're just not done until they're done. If you've ever been in an abusive relationship, you can understand how and why people are infatuated with the very system that's holding them down. They don't know any better. Ham pleads the fifth. Dude, right? I only talk about it because I've seen it in myself. So there's this whole system of Oz, and it's literally been a whole bunch of lies. The overlords of Oz have literally lied to the people about everything. About what? Well, about everything. Top to bottom, bottom to top, front to back, back to front. You've been lied to. Why? Because they can. Because they can. Because if they can lie to you, if they can get you to believe a certain narrative, if they can get you spun up emotionally, they can alter your behavior. They can get you to purchase. They can get you to buy. They can get you to lie. They can get you to traumatize other people in your life into taking the actions that they want you to take. That's why. Because it's a game. Because they think it's fun. Because they profit off of it. Because they prey on you. That's why. Now, again, I know that the people watching this have great big hearts and they can't begin to wrap their head around the kind of malicious intent that it requires to intentionally hold down and harm another person. And yet it's happening. See, so it's really interesting in the land of Oz, their greatest, they even say that they will know that their work is complete when everything that the people believes is a lie. Don't you think we're kind of close to there? They will know that their misinformation campaign is complete when every single thing that the people believe is a lie. And so recently we've watched in Oz, as people have neglected the truth, neglected the reality of how their bodies were designed, and opted instead for a lab-created construct, a gross imitation of nature. See, that's what Oz does, though. Oz looks at nature and that which has already been done perfectly by an intelligent creator. Oz looks at nature and Oz says, well, let's go ahead and lab create something similar. Let's try to imitate nature. And so they take their petri dishes and their lab coats and they slice and they splice and they add this and that to their chemical concoctions. And they try to emulate that which is already done perfectly. Now, here's the problem. The foods that Oz has created have leached our soil, removed all the nutrients from the earth. They make food that causes bugs, insects to explode. It has insecticide built in. And yet, we're supposed to eat it and be okay? Granted, I know I'm not a bug, but I also eat a lot more than a bug. What's that doing to me? And they add artificial colorings that you wouldn't find in nature. As if that artificial coloring somehow makes the food that much more appealing. Does it really? Or does that artificial coloring that you've cleverly marketed to our children just cause neurological disorders that then your pharmaceutical companies can profit off of? See, but that's the way that Oz works. Oz manipulates that which is real and creates a false substitute. They take that which is God-given and they pervert it and they invert it and they use it against the people. So we now, more than ever, need to be praying and intending for the best, but we need to be preparing for the worst because, see, this system is so insidious, it doesn't actually want your well-being. It doesn't want your thriving. It's not designed for that. All the people that are like, well, gosh, I can't ever figure out how to make money in the system. Yeah, you think? By design. Okay? You're not designed. It's not designed for you to be well. And the moment that people can begin to wrap their head around this, that the system is not set up for your wellness, it's not set up for your thriving, is the moment that people begin to actually take their power back. See, because Oz just took nature and it superimposed a system on top of it, a cage on top of it, a matrix on top of it, a system of control. But the moment that you begin to like pop out of that and you stop being so dependent and so reliant on that system, you begin to take your power back. Yeah, okay, so what's Pam say? Some elected these overlords and have been altered through chemical ingestion and don't even realize it. Yes. Then attack those who see and question the overlord's methods. Yeah. So that's the greatest ploy of Oz. Oz has... How can I talk about this? Okay. Oz intentionally did research to create an illness that they released on their people. Then Oz created the fruit punch cure for the illness that they created and released. Now, through really clever marketing, also known as propaganda, they talked a whole bunch of people into the necessity of this fruit punch cure. How did they do that? Well, they use fear. They manipulate people. They used the media. They used the production studio that is Oz with their false lights and their costume shop and their CGI and their things to manipulate and to play with people's emotions. Why? Well, because if you can get someone's emotions involved in something, you get their imagination running, you get them to turn on their doom and gloom thing that they get going with, and that emotion actually causes all the previous unresolved upset to come to the surface, and now they've got a whole story. You guys ever done this? Are you a worrywart like me? And you get this worst case scenario thing going? Yeah. Oz knows that your brain does that. Oz also knows that your brain doesn't know the difference between that which it imagined and that which is actually real. It just thinks it's all real. And so if they can give you a scene on a screen and they can cause an emotional reaction to rise up in your body, you will actually think that that thing is actually happening. Have y'all seen the video games and the movies that Oz cranks out? Do you know how many times a week I'm like, is that real life? And yet, the people of Oz seem to think that that which they are being shown on their screens is accurate, is real. They are the first to say, oh my gosh, look at the technological advancements we've made. Have you seen those graphics? Oh, but by the way, these graphics that they're presenting me now that are causing an emotional reaction in my body, this must be real. I should believe it. And so I've lived in 16 states and I've watched as people have gone to line up to drink this fruit punch that the overlords of Oz have created for a thing that literally isn't a thing, other than they made it a thing. And now I'm watching countless people. Countless people. I've lived in 16 states since the overlords of Oz decided that they wanted to carry out this plot. I have lived in 16 states, and in 16 states, I have seen just a couple of people with the sniffles. I have seen hospitals empty. I have seen parking lots empty. I have seen small businesses shut down and drop like flies. I've seen homeless populations grow, which is the opposite of what I thought. I mean, like when there's an illness spreading around, you would assume that those people that do not have access to adequate sanitation and cleanliness would be those that would drop first, but that wasn't the case. I've watched as places close down bathrooms so people can't wash hands, but I thought we learned during the bubonic plague that washing your hands prevents illness and disease. But yet, like, let's close down those bathrooms. I've seen that all over Oz. I've seen as people have put up plastic barricades and they've covered their hands and their faces and they've put themselves up in a little bubble of plastic so that way they're all just not in contact with things. I have watched as Oz has manipulated people out of the innate knowing that they have a damn immune system. I have watched as the overlords of Oz have pulled information about health and well-being and thriving from the networks. I have watched as they have silenced professionals, people that have spent their life and made their livelihood in real research. I have watched as they have fired people with good hearts that have said, hey, something's not adding up here. Or, hey, my body, my choice, including in this arena. And, you know, Pam said it, the problem is the overlords of Oz have talked a lot of people into drinking this fruit punch from this punch bowl with who knows what kind of ingredients in it. And that's terrifying. See, because what the people of Oz didn't realize is that as they were mixing up this punch in the cauldron, they were adding all kinds of crazy things. They added a dash of this and a splash of that and a pinch of this. Some, how could I talk about this? They added some metal shavings and some pencil bits and some things that are actually designed to go within the being and then act as little nanobots that are controlled by the frequency that they control through the air that then affects how the people are thinking. How could I talk about this a different way? I can't say the word. I can't call it what it is. I'm going to spell it out so you guys can do your research. GRAPHENE OXIDE. Hi, everybody. See, they added this ingredient to the fruit punch that actually causes hive mind. So we're in this time of transition on the planet where people are expanding. People are evolving. We're coming into a greater understanding of who we are as human beings. We're tapping back into our power. We are remembering who we really are. Those that are organic are. Okay? Those that are organic are going through a natural process right now that has been foretold, that is destined, that is happening. Now, those that have drank from the fruit punch bowl are no longer organic. They are now modified, just like the corn that causes insects' stomachs to explode. Okay? They have been making seedless fruit. They have been trying to make the people seedless as well, and they are succeeding with this fruit punch that they're pushing towards everybody. You might think that this is crazy. I assure you it is, and it's accurate. Okay? So they've created this punch, and they've literally added, It's not, but it's the best way I can say it without them pulling this down. It's like metal shavings that they've added to this substance that all act as nanobot receptors. You don't need to have, people just don't get it. Like, the technology that the overlords of Oz have revealed to us is nothing compared to what they could actually do. They are, why am I so serious? Because this is serious. Okay? This is serious. They are literally adding things to the fruit punch to remove the God gene from people's brains and people's bodies. They are removing people's ability to connect with God. They are playing God. I've lived in 16 states since Oz kicked all of this bullshit off. And by the way, I don't know a single person that has actually died from the thing that they released. I've known plenty of people that have maybe passed away with, as in they had other comorbidities, they had other things that had already been caused by this behavior of Oz. Okay, like, Oz has been creating illness and disease in people forever. And so, yeah, if you already have a taxed immune system and an exhausted body, and then you happen to catch something else, could it cause a cascade of events? Yeah, you bet. Now, does that mean that this last little icing on top was the thing that caused the problem? No. No, it doesn't. I've watched as Oz has manipulated data in order to force people into fear. Why? Because people do frantic, desperate things when they're in fear. So if Oz can get people to be afraid enough, they can get them to do anything. So Oz has played with the fear, like, oh my gosh, if you don't drink from the punch bowl, you're going to get sick. Not telling people that the punch bowl is the thing that is making people sick. See, and that's the scariest thing. The punch bowl has all kinds of things in it that are causing all kinds of things to happen in people's bodies that are not the definition of wellness. And yet Oz has been manipulating information and playing with people to convince them that it somehow is providing health. I've been reading, probably do too much of that, first-hand accounts of people that have chosen to drink from the punch bowl. And I've been reading that they drank from the punch bowl for all kinds of reasons, like peer pressure. Well, gosh, everybody else just said that I should. The news said that I should. That celebrity said that I should, so I drank from the punch bowl. And I've seen all sorts of people, maybe it was because their work said that they had to drink the punch or they couldn't work there anymore. Or their loved one said, hey, if you don't drink from the punch bowl, you don't get to see me ever again. To which that I'm like, you're lost. Bye. Or maybe they drank from the punch bowl because they were told that if they wanted to get on a plane and go see this beautiful earth that we live on, that they would need to have punch in their system. And maybe they drank from the punch bowl because there was a lottery, or they got a free donut, or they just felt pressured for whatever reason. And they just, like Pam says, they just keep refilling the punch bowl to have you come back for more. And each time you come back to the punch bowl, the ingredients of the punch bowl are just slightly different. They've tweaked it. And so maybe if you were kind of okay with the last cup of punch, now you don't know. Like, I don't know, maybe they've slipped some GHB up in that punch. By the way, if you are a party goer at all and you're watching this, y'all don't ever drink from the damn punch bowl. Why don't you drink from the punch bowl? Well, because you have no idea what's in the damn punch bowl. I know it's like alluring because it's got the dry ice and it's got the stuff coming out of it, but man, you don't know what they've put in there. Do you? Okay. See, we've had to have this talk about the punch bowl. We've had to have this talk about how insidious and how dark and how disgusting the overlords of Oz are, because some of y'all cannot grasp or are not grasping yet the severity of the situation, nor the severity of what is unfolding now. Okay. The punch causes a thing called ADE. That's an acronym. Go use Brave or not one of the main search engines because they're censored, but go use Brave or go use something like that and do some research and or message me and I'll send it to you. The punch is causing ADE. Now, what that means is that the people that drink the punch, their body then begins to attack itself. And the people that have had the punch are finding that after they drink the punch, if they have had a past injury, if they've had a past condition, something else going on in their body, let's say maybe they've had an arthritis joint problem, or they've had a skin thing, or they've had a brain thing, too many concussions, whatever. Wherever they've had injuries in their body, this punch is causing their body to go back and to attack those areas. That's terrifying. Okay? So, the people that have had the punch, they now have this cascade of events that's happening within their body. Some of the ingredients from the punch are settling in their organs. It's causing everything from inflammation to rashes to blood clots to strokes to death. Sounds like some pretty gnarly punch, if you ask me. And the overlords of Oz are just telling people, well, that's a sign that the punch is working. And I'm actively reading people talk about their experience with the punch, and they are saying things like, well, you know, for my mom it ended in death, but I can't imagine what would have happened had she not drank the punch. Is there something worse than death? Is there like something beyond that? See, because they say that the punch is supposed to prevent the need for hospitalizations or for serious illness or death, and yet I'm watching all kinds of people that actually have illness caused by drinking the punch. So, on the most basic level, like, you've got to have all the alarm bells going off. Like, something's not adding up here. Unless, of course, the system is not actually broken and this is actually working exactly how they intended it to work. It is time to pray for and intend for the very best. It is time to wrap the people that you love up in your arms and to cherish the moments that you have with them. It is time to go do the things in your life that you have always wanted to do. It is time to chase the dreams. It's time to put the toes in the sand. It's time to feel the breeze on your face. It's time to really just relish and love this moment of your existence. Because nothing will ever be the same again. Okay? There are many people that we love and that we care about. that have decided to drink from this proverbial punch bowl, this concoction. And for whatever reason that they have done it, we can have love and we can have grace, and we also have to understand what's coming. There is a very dark winter brewing in the land of Oz. There is a level of loss currently happening that is only going to escalate in the land of Oz that is beyond comprehension. There is a depth of grieving that is about to sweep the land. It has already started, unfortunately, in many people's families. But there is a level of grief that is about to sweep the land of Oz that I don't wish on anyone. See, some of the things that are happening as people drink the punch, it's causing tumors. I don't know how many of you know this, but back in 2019, I guess it was late 2018 when we got the news, we found out that my bonus dad had an avocado-sized tumor in his brain. It was grade 4 glioblastoma. It's this gnarly, tentacly cancer that eats and infects healthy brain tissue. And by the time they found it, it was avocado-sized. It was ginormous. And they did surgery. And they went in and they tried to chop the cancer out, but it's a brain cancer, and the brain it needs to be well. It needs to be whole. And so after the surgery, the brain tissue started to grow again, but the cancer just grew with it. And the surgery that was meant to help probably only exacerbated the problem. It was like they opened him up and that oxygen hit the cancer and off it went. And, within 10 days after the surgery, he was bedridden and in a coma. And it was one of the most grueling, heartbreaking, sad things I've ever had to see or be a part of. My bonus dad, that was 6'4" and 220 and active. I mean, like, y'all, he was a drummer and a snow skier and a water skier and a hiker and a pilot and a dirt biker, and he could fix anything. Like, he was very much just a Renaissance man. He went from being active and with it to being bedridden, and at the end of his life, I think he was 80 or 90 pounds. We watched him waste away. We watched him deteriorate. Now, I'm telling you this story because, like I said, I feel like I have been prepared for that which is coming. And the number of people that I am reading in these forums, I highly recommend you go straight to the source and you get your information from the people that are actively experiencing it. Without the bias, without the slant, without the media bullshit. Just go to the people. Listen to the people that are dealing with it, okay? I read 5 stories this morning about people's loved ones being diagnosed with glioblastoma brain cancer. I don't wish that on anybody. Back when my husband first got married, at our wedding, it's totally a karma thing. I swear, I didn't do it. Maybe just energetically. My mother-in-law, his mom, said something really, really very heinous to another family member. And I just kind of like energetically pushed. I was 20 feet away. It wasn't me. But she slips and she falls and she breaks her hip. Karma moment. But with a broken hip, then she has to go into surgery. And she woke up from surgery after anesthesia, just, for lack of a better word, bat shit fucking crazy. Batshit. I mean, like, the woman comes out of surgery and she's not coherent and she's trying to physically attack the nurses in the nursing home. And she was trying to bite people and she was cussing at people and she was going off on these looped repetitive sayings and she just lost it. So they diagnosed her with Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, CJD. Basically, it's prion disease. It is advanced staged rapid onset dementia, for lack of a better word. If you guys have ever been around someone with dementia, it's freaking crazy. Again, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So my mother-in-law gets diagnosed with this thing, and she is like violent. Why am I talking about this? Well, one of the things that they have discovered is happening to people that have ingested the fruit punch from the punch bowl at the party is that prion disease is a very real thing. It's mad cow, you guys. Like, it's mad cow disease. This is a thing. So we've got heart inflammation, we've got blood clots, we've got ADE, we've got glioblastoma, brain cancer, we've got weird rashes popping up, we've got people dropping like flies because they went and drank the fruit punch that was supposed to cure the thing that the overlords of Oz released on the public. Okay, I just had to lay that back out there so everybody knows what's really happening right now. Y'all, this is happening by design. The reason why they're not in uproar over it, by the way, like, go look into the reporting data, not that it's accurate information, because I don't know if y'all know this, I just gotta say it. Did you know that the Centers for Disease and Control, because that's what they really are not counting people that drank. Okay, how could I say this? If you drank from the fruit punch bowl anytime in the last 2 weeks and you happen to have any side effects to the punch, the Centers for Disease and Control are not recording you as punched. So people have ingested the punch, but they are lying and claiming that those people are not yet punched if they have side effects or death within the first 2 weeks after drinking the punch. That's disgusting, and that makes no sense, but that's the truth of what's happening. So the data is completely skewed. The data is completely off, and they are literally causing illness within people, causing death within people through this punch, and then they are hiding the data so that people don't know that it's happening. Okay, we have to talk about that because we are coming into a very dark winter. Now, what usually happens about right now in fall? The weather's changing. A natural phenomena that happens with every season change is that people pass away. It is just a thing that happens. People tend to leave their bodies at season shift, and you can talk to anyone that works in a hospital or anyone that works in a funeral home, and that's just something that happens. Okay? So the only guarantee that we have in this body is eventually this body will expire. Can we agree? Okay. Well, about this time of year, what usually happens is the days start to get shorter, the weather starts to get cooler, people begin to lean more on those comfort foods, those starchy things, those sugary things. You know, then we've got Halloween coming up. Here in the U.S., a lot of the states will end up doing daylight savings thing, right, where we change the clocks. I'm convinced that the overlords of Oz actually have us change the clocks so that way people that are wrapped up in the system of Oz, that go to work during the day under their fluorescent lights, are actually robbed of any semblance of daylight. which, by the way, helps to prevent seasonal affective disorder, helps to keep you happy, helps to keep you in a good mood. But if you don't have daylight and you're not getting that vitamin D, and your immune system is now tanking, and now you've got shorter daylight, now you're leaning on the starchy, sugary foods, right? Like, what's happening within your body? Well, you're becoming more acidic, and you don't have the sunlight to help process it. And then people roll into the holidays and they feel all this pressure that they have to get together with families. There's all this expectation. There's all this money spent. There's all this going into debt. There's all this, stress. Stress is the number one offender on anybody's system, period. Stress is the greatest taxer and toxin in your system. Number one, like cascade, stress causes a cascade and a domino effect within your body that releases all kinds of hormones that mess with your neurotransmitters. So it can affect your gut health, your digestion, your mood. And it causes dis-ease. So if we have increased stress on an already taxed system from people that have been drinking the punch that has God knows what in it, and then we just ramp up the seasonal stress, what do you think is going to happen as we come into winter? Okay, that seasonal thing that goes around that's called the flu, that disappeared, by the way. Disappeared? Oh, cured it. Go look that data up. Didn't go anywhere, it was just renamed. That thing that happens, though, that's actually your body detoxing itself from the overload of crap in its system. Okay, like when your body is detoxing, it makes you feel like shit. But when you've got all this added toxin and now the stress and you're detoxing, it goes into overload and the system can't handle it and the body will just check out and be done. I think, very sadly, based on all of the research that I've done, based on what experts that are way more intelligent, way more knowledgeable in that field than I am, based on my own intuition, based on what I'm seeing with personal accounts, we are in for a very dark winter. I think that you only need to look at the rate, the number of people, the percentage of people in a given area that have chosen to drink from the punch bowl to know what the death toll is going to be. So I'm from colorful Colorado, and when I look at the rate there, the last time I looked, it was at 88%. Because of how I know that they concocted the punch, because I know what their aim was, what their agenda was with the punch, I think we can expect 88% of the people in Colorado to drop like flies. I just got major chills. Oh, ugh. So I want to have a talk with you real fast. And I know that this is heavy and this is doom and gloom, and I really don't think that you can prepare for the best unless you are being very honest about what is so, like what the truth of the matter is. And the truth of the matter is that we have a very dark winter coming. And it is so incredibly sickening because it is by design. It is actually functioning the way that they designed it. How do I know? Well, because they haven't halted production or distribution of it. If they were alarmed by what's happening, they would put a kibosh on the whole thing, but they're not alarmed. They're pushing it more. Okay? There are actually nasty, insidious, gross characters out there that actually want to do harm. It's just like the dudes that slip date rape drug into people's drinks at parties. It's the same kind of crappy, shitty thinking. This thing is working exactly as designed, and its design, y'all, they carved it into stone. If you have any doubt what the agenda is, they carved it into stone. It is depopulation. They carved it into stone. Like, it's not even arguable. Okay, so what happens? Let's just kind of go there for a moment so you can begin to prepare yourself, because I bet there are some action steps that you could take right now to better prepare yourself for what is coming. Whether that's emotionally, physically, mentally, energetically. Let's just say just modestly. 40%. Let's just say even just 1/4. Let's say, what would happen? What would happen theoretically if 1/4 of the population suddenly croaked and they dropped like flies? 1 in 4. If 1 in 4 business owners suddenly was not alive to run their business, if 1 in 4 grocery store managers didn't show up, if 1 in 4 employees suddenly wasn't at work, if 1 in 4, I'm going to say it, children in the classroom, what begins to happen to the very fabric of humanity? What if 1 in 4 truckers that deliver groceries to the grocery store suddenly drop like flies? Okay, now, again, this thing has an insidious design. They did one animal study on the fruit punch, and in that animal study, they had 100% fatality rate. So they never did another animal study. This is the study that they're doing now. 100% fatality rate. So if you look up the rate of people that have drank the fruit punch in your area, you know, we're going to have entire neighborhoods fall. Now, I know that this is serious, and I'm not often all gloom and doom. Y'all know me. I like to have a positive spin. I like to remind people of their power, but if you are not being honest about what's actually so, you are being an ostrich and burying your head in the sand, and that kind of avoidance will not protect you or keep you safe. You need to actually have a real moment of honesty and truth with yourself if you want to prepare for what's next, okay? There are hundreds of ships right now lined up, waiting to try to get into a port to get unloaded, but there is currently, right now in this 10 seconds, not the workforce to unload the ships. There is currently, in this 10 seconds, not the workforce to put it on a truck and ship it. There's currently, in this 10 seconds, not the workforce to unload it from the truck and put it on the store shelf at the grocery store. Right now, today, live, action, real. So what happens as distribution chains completely collapse? What happens as food does not make it from farms onto shelves? What happens when you find out that the overlords of Oz have been telling farmers that they need to destroy their crop? What happens when the world as you know it literally ceases to exist? See, we live at a crazy point in human history where there is a pretty large number of people that actually think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. And they don't realize that if there's not a farmer growing the food and then someone driving the food to the store doesn't have food. You think that might be a problem? Now, what's really scary and intimidating to me is to think about like these places that have such a high rate and instance of people that have decided to drink the punch. 88% in Colorado? Are you serious? So this is no longer a conversation of 1 in 4. This is 88%. 9 out of 10? Can you fathom? 9 out of 10. So you have a group of 100 people and 88 of them, if you're just standing in the room, drop like flies. Now, sounds like something out of a horror film, quite frankly. Really, all the movies are coming true. They're just documentaries anyway. Probably should start watching Zombieland again. Prepare. But what do you do when there's that level of destruction? Like, can you even grasp that? Can you even comprehend what's happening? And some people say, well, Brooke, it's not like, even if that happens, it's not going to happen overnight. Oh, well, it could. Because remember, again, they put a thing in the fruit punch that then sits in the organs of the people that drink the punch that responds to frequency. All they need to do is adjust the frequency. And first off, they can get people to think and behave in the way that they want because they've added this other agent within their system that is hijacking their system. So they can get them to think and behave the way that they want. But number 2, they could just use the frequency and have those people drop like flies. Y'all just need to realize. So then the question is, what do we do about it? And, I think it's really easy if you're in a period of transition and you're seeing things fall apart, that the thing to want to do is to want to pull it all together and duct tape it back together and fix it. Y'all, there ain't nothing to fix. The system is fucked, but it is fucked up by design. Pardon the language. It's not broken. It's operating exactly how they designed it to be. And so then the question becomes, what would you like to have instead? If we're not going to stick around and try to staple back together that which is broken and collapsing, if you see the truth of what's happening right now, if you see the truth of what they've been trying to do to humanity, the question is, like, what do you choose now? What do you actually want to create now? What do you feel? Because each one of us is a unique puzzle piece in this whole equation. What is that thing that's been pulling on your heart that you're like, wow, gosh, I need to take action on this? And maybe it feels like, maybe it feels a little bit like, gosh, I'm preparing too much, or I'm too doom and gloom, or maybe someone has even said, like, you're trying to be over-prepared. You know what? I would much rather be over-prepared than not prepared at all when the storm hits. I think it's time to really be spiritually, emotionally, and mentally fortifying ourselves for this shift. Now, one thing that I know for sure is that if you are taking care of your body, if you are staying away from the fruit punch, if you are not allowing the peer pressure to get to you, if you are standing strong in your convictions, you will be protected. That's the message that I've gotten. If you are tapped into source, if you know who you are, if you are being yourself, you will be protected. Now, that being said, you're going to get guidance, and you need to be acting on that guidance, on that intuitive hit that's coming through you, because that is the thing that is trying to protect you. So some people may be getting the call or the pull to go somewhere else, to go be somewhere else. They might be getting the call and the pull to do something. Maybe you already have space. Maybe The idea now is to, we're coming into fall, get some grow lights and set up a tower garden in your closet to build some kind of self-sufficiency. Maybe the deal is, maybe you've just got some phone calls to make, or some hugs to give, or some love to spread. All right? The answer right now, though, is not in trying to convince the people that have drank from the fruit punch bowl to try to, what's been done is done. All right? I think that we are beyond the choice point. People have made that choice, or they've chosen one way or another. For some, it's too late for that kind of awakening. For others, it was that choice point that's going to allow them to open up to something else. But you don't have any control over that. And so to spend your energy there speaking to people that are now part of a hive mind, trying to convince them of information when they are literally being controlled by an outside entity, is totally futile. I think that it is time to realize that there's a natural separation that's happening. I was listening to a thing. I've never worked with wheat personally, but I was listening to a thing the other day that was talking about wheat harvest, and that when they chop the wheat, then they throw it into the air and the wind will blow away the debris, and then what's left is the actual wheat. And there's that kind of natural separation that's happening right now. Like, where we're going is so great. It is so spectacular. It is beyond comprehension, beyond imagination, beautiful beyond. We are literally entering a new era of humanity where there will be peace on earth, abundance for all, well-being, joy, ease, connection with nature and with each other, time to actually do the fulfilling, heart-centered work and the things that you enjoy doing, that you're here to do. There is a whole new era coming for humanity, but not everyone is going to end up there. And the choice point, the fork in the road, if you will, for people has been on whether or not they participate in the fruit punch. See, those that have drank the fruit punch are no longer organic. And so there's been an organic, natural process that is happening in people that are unmodified, where new healing is coming online, where new possibility is coming online, where old programs and old chains that have been affecting our flesh and our DNA are falling away and making room for who we really are and what's really possible for us. But those people that have chosen to drink the fruit punch have halted that process. They have a different process, a lab-created process that is happening within their bodies. So one is from the Creator and natural and real and designed for our empowerment and our betterment and our thriving. And another one, another thing that's happening within people's bodies is lab created. It is designed by the overlords of Oz. It has a specific agenda at play. It is based off of control and fear. And so we've got two active timelines playing out right now, and it's totally your choice on which timeline you've decided to be a part of. But there are two timelines. And so right now, this next, I don't know, time's weird. It's not even really a thing. But this next, today through maybe 2 to 3 years, is going to be a very interesting time period for humanity. Because you're going to see, it's almost like we're walking between worlds, and you're going to see the people that have chosen this timeline fall away. Now, I don't think that there's a choice is just a choice. People make choices all the time. So if you can step out of the judgment of people have made a choice for themselves, if you can step out of the emotional reaction around it, like we're each sovereign beings, we're each on our own path, we're each on our own journey. If you cannot beat the people up that you love for the choices that they've made, if you can have grace and love for them even in that choice, I think you'll be much better off. You'll have more peace in your own heart. But it is time, very much, to pray for and intend for the best, to see people well, to see this world that you would like to have, this space that you would like to have, but then simultaneously to be preparing for the worst, okay? Like, do you have a plan? The old system is falling. That's just the long and short of it. The old system is falling. It's crumbling. This is not going to be our reality forever. But in the crumbling of the system, do you have any kind of plan? Do you know what you will do to make sure that you're going to be well through it? What's your plan as the distribution chains crumble? What's the plan as the medical system as we know it ceases to exist because they've required that everybody drink punch? What's your plan with education? By the way, if you've got kiddos, like, they're naturally curious, and you really are their best teacher regardless of any other programming you've received, okay? Just because these things fall away doesn't mean that there's not an alternative. If you are a medical person and you've walked from your job because you believe in bodily sovereignty, we all have your back, okay? And you don't suddenly lose your skills or your know-how because of some bullshit mandate. All right? What I see happening is, like, are you willing to go private party with things? The system is revealing itself for what it is, a system of shit and lies and coercion and manipulation. So are you willing to actually step outside that cage and outside of that box? And are you willing to actually, honor people's know-how and their skills and their service? Private party. I've seen for a very long time, like, the education system is jacked. I used to be part of it. I taught in it. It wasn't something I could morally stick with because I saw the indoctrination that was happening and how it wasn't actually setting our students up for success in the real world. Couldn't stick around. Now, you know what I could stick around for is, why can't a group of families choose to hire a teacher to teach their children in a smaller group so that their children can actually get the support that they need? That seems like a valid possibility in a changing world. Now, couldn't we do the same thing with the medical system? Couldn't we still get much of the care that we're requiring from people, just private party? Yeah. Suzanne, I felt so much despair the last few days, which has paralyzed me from taking action from what I know needs to be done. Yeah. I think it's really easy when you're in a period of transition, because we are in a collective period of transition, and the energy is a lot. Like, I don't know how else to describe it other than I just feel this just rushing, this quickening. Like, I feel that the change and the shift is upon us. I think that much more will be revealed to our physical eyes. What can you take action on right now? What can you take action on right now? And you know what? Action might look like going to take a quiet moment to yourself. Action might look like sitting and falling into your heart and busting out a notebook and just seeing what wants to come through. Action might actually look like maybe you have some grief that is bottled up in your body. Maybe you have some apprehension or some fear or some sadness that needs to be released. Maybe it's bringing up some patterns that you need to go look at. That counts as action, okay? And you getting energetically and emotionally right within yourself does far more than we can even put into words. You taking care of your own body, you taking care of your nutrition and your health is huge. Okay, so it might be something seemingly simple like that. It's not, it's everything, all right? Yeah, we must take care of our shadow work now and physical preparation as well. Yeah, both. Okay? I can see very clearly who has done that shadow work within themselves, because the people that have done the shadow work within themselves, even though it's difficult, even though the voices might be running their game, people that have actually done the work, that have stepped outside of the cycles, they're able to stand strong. They're able to stand in their sovereignty and in their decision, despite the bullshit that's going on around them. I can tell the people that have actually done the work to bust out of the trauma loops in their life, because they're not falling for the propaganda and the fear. They're seeing through it. They're seeing that this is just part of a bigger agenda and I don't need to participate in that. And by the way, how powerful are we? I'm seeing all over the place people rise up, and because they're willing to stand in solidarity with one another, they're putting an end to these ludicrous mandates. You know, I find it really interesting. One of the things that the pushers of the punch like to say is like, well, everybody has to get it. You have to get it for the people that can't have it. Okay, well, newsflash, I'm one of the people that can't have it. You know how I know? Because I say I can't have it. Period. I'm the one that lives in my body. I'm the one that knows how my body operates. And we have to understand and we have to trust that each individual is making the right choice for themselves. Okay, so like if you say that you don't want any punch and the punch is not for you, okay, the punch is not for you. But you need to stand strong in that conviction. Otherwise, like, aren't we just like right back at, back in the 6th grade, they had the DARE program, Dare to Keep Kids Off Drugs. Wasn't that the whole teaching? Like, don't succumb to peer pressure. Don't do experimental drugs. And yet now everybody is supposed to line up. Despite the fact that the mounting evidence from the people that are being affected by the punch is like, yo, don't do this. I don't know. It's an interesting time to be alive. Okay. I'm going to get ready to go play in the dirt, but thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this time with me. You know, I think if you are one of the ones that has been watching this, that has been watching this play out, I see you. I am proud and honored to be in the arena with you. It is not an easy thing to day in and day out watch what's happening, to see it so clearly. It's not an easy thing to watch people that we love be affected by everything that's going on. It's not an easy thing, okay? And I see you, and I honor you for showing up and suiting up every single day. More will be revealed. Much, much more will be revealed. The best really is yet to come. And not everybody makes it to that part. Okay? Much love to you. I think the last thing that I would say is water. Water is paramount. Water is life. And it's time to really, if you've had it in your heart, if you've had it in your mind, to try to figure out how we can live sustainably and off-grid and outside of the system, now is the time to really be teaming up together to work on bringing some of those things to fruition. I do see that a very dark winter is upon us, and those that are prepared, those that are willing to look outside the box, those that are willing to take bold action, those that are willing to listen to that intuitive nudge, you're going to be in the right place at the right time. You're going to be protected. You're going to know the thing to do. It's going to be okay. And it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Okay? We're going to see a lot more of it breaking down, a lot more unfolding in the physical experience before it does actually get better. Okay. All right. Much love, you guys. We'll talk soon.